What up? What up? What up? What up? Late night conversation. This is going to be a triggering topic, but I thought I was going to let it slide. And when I say let it slide, I mean I wasn't going to say nothing. I also mean I was just going to let. Hold on. I wasn't gonna speak on it. I wasn't gonna say anything, and I was gonna let everything just be everything, right? But my feed today was filled with a lot of interesting information, um, concerning reactions and different things from a lot of women, a lot of mothers, and it bothered me. It bothered me. Um, for multiple reasons. But the main one being we as women, and I'm not a mother yet, but one day I'm sure I will be. We as women are portals for life to come into this world. We as women, outside of um, essay and other extreme things like that, right? We have control over what and who enters our body. And of course, we don't always know the full extent of a person's nature depending on the circumstances and how things transpired in the relationship or situationship or whatever the case may be. Hey, everyone. And we can't always gather that, right? Stuff happens. But at what point when a mother becomes a mother does she pause from doing what she has to do to provide for her kids, provide for her household, especially if she's a single mother, right? At what point in that does she take the time to pause and actually say, have I dealt with the things that I've buried? Because what I've been seeing over the past few days, especially hearing different topics from women, it sounds like a lot of things that women have chosen or have chose to bury is now starting to rise up and overflow. And so today the strongest thing that I heard a mother say was that she's not buying school supplies for somebody else's child because she doesn't get any help. I also saw or I see women often all the time, right? They're always looking for themselves in somebody else. And I spoke on that aspect a little bit yesterday, but I'm including it in this one today because It fits. At what point in a mother's life, in between her doing whatever she has to do so she's able to provide, keep a roof over her child's head, clothes on their back, etc., does she sit down and take accountability and realize that she hasn't really paused to actually do the inner work for herself because she's just been in go mode trying to provide, even though what she's doing in the midst of that is burying everything and not really processing it? The reason I say that is because women have the power and the ability to maneuver, to create, to impact this world in a crazy way. But if all of the women are overstimulated and intaking constant drama and just toxic things and the whole I want to be over 35, over whatever age, right? Over a mature age and still doing city girl stuff, which is your business, but I'm just saying at a certain age the city girl should have slightly shifted out of your system a little bit. Especially being that I know I heard a city girl say she would want her own daughter to be a city girl. But there's grown women with still city girl behavior as mothers. But the actual city girl does not want her own child to be a city girl. When I heard the school thing earlier from different parents, right? There were different perspectives on it. There were some parents saying, they just don't have it to where it goes to somebody else's child. There were other parents saying, they don't care where the supplies go. They just get the supplies and, let it do whatever it does. But the thing with when it comes to school, especially teachers, they're already underpaid. Teachers are underpaid. And unless you choose to do a specialty in education, you're underpaid. And when I say specialty, I mean like EC, special needs. You're underpaid. And then to have to deal with multiple kids coming from multiple different households with multiple different situations or upbringing on top of that. And then teachers really have the students 10 months out of the, 9 to 10 months out of the year. They're basically like second parents to the students, to the parents' kids. I saw also a lot of women talking about dealing with jealousy from other people, but then dealing with jealousy from your own mother, which also goes back to the subject. When are the mothers going to intentionally heal? Like intentionally heal. Like really sit down and look at themselves and say, what has hurt me? What have I dealt with that I haven't what have I experienced that I haven't dealt with but that I've pushed to the side just so I can continue to move forward? I don't think women realize that I don't think women realize the power sometimes, that the impact, the influence. There's so much stuff going on in the world today. And I know a lot of people, because everyone deals with money issues differently. I know that's always a touchy area for people. And I know it brings out the worst side of people sometimes, dealing with money. But if we don't put in the effort to really heal, and I mean heal to the point that, oh God, God, God. Heal to the point where you don't have to find yourself outside of yourself. Heal to the point where you're not in constant competition, whether it's with your child, whether it's with your family member, whether it's with a lady you don't even know, that you've never met. So much so to the point that you can flow in any situation. And when I say flow, I mean if you get hit with bad news tomorrow, you like, okay, you process it, you might sit with it, take whatever time you need, but don't allow the time to just consume you to the point where it's throwing off the your base or your foundation that you've established because of your healing. It's sad to realize that we've gotten to the point where mothers, the protectors of the youth, the babies, the mothers, don't even want to help other mothers if they're able to. But they're the same people who say they don't have help. There's so much stuff going on. And if the mothers don't force themselves to intentionally heal, and I know women not gonna like this because they're gonna feel like, oh, what about the men? We'll get to the men another day. It's the mothers, because you have the portal that the kids have to come through. Whether or not the man stays, or whether or not you decide to give your child up for adoption, or you decide to stand 10 toes down on what action you took to even have the child in the first place, the baby still have to be protected. And if the mothers never heal, then they pass on their traumas in different ways to their kids. And as much as I love my mom and I understand the different things that uh concerning her experiences, some of her experiences that she did or did not choose to heal impact me and her other kids. And that's the same for you other mamas. What you don't choose to directly deal with, instead of pushing to the side so you can just focus on the fact that you have to provide for your child, you are rubbing that off onto your kid, who also has to process their own everything else pertaining to you, because of how you choose to deal with everything else in life. How you choose to respond to the different struggles or emotions or feelings that your child may have due to whatever the situation may be, right? Maybe you're a single mom and you don't lack anything, so your child is well provided for. Maybe you're a single mom and you don't have everything, and so your child has to deal with all of that excess stuff at school, because just like you as a mother, your child deals with people too who they want to feel like they are included with, that they have friends with. Why? Because typically the parents teach the kids that, oh, you go out and you make a lot of friends. They don't automatically go in with the mindset of training their child up to be solid, even if they got to stand by themselves. Parents don't teach their kids that. They want their kids to have friends. They want their kids to be social. There are people in this world that are targeting the babies. They're passing all of these things and they sound nice on the surface. But this is a spiritual chess game. It's bad enough and interesting enough that they've already separated the household, right? They separated it to the extent where there's hardly any more healthy two-parent households. And the healthy two-parent households that we do have are few and in between. Yeah, we can circle back and talk about the men not being in the household. But for those moms, right? The single moms, there is no man in the household. It's on you. And whether or not that child's father comes back or not, it's on you. So how that child then goes out and shows up in the world, or grows up and becomes a um, what you would consider a successful person in society, that's on you, the mom. I'm saying all of this because I know children who have parents who are more into gossip and drama, and it reflects in that child's life. That child can't read, don't even have an interest in reading, but they have interest in being in all the drama, all the mess, all the gossip. But it's because their mama ain't healed yet. The mama refuses to heal, fully heal. The mama refuses to let go of whatever hurt and experience that she had from her own mother. So much so to where she doesn't see how her mother wounds are rubbing off on her daughter. Everybody, mothers, fathers, women, men, everybody is just arguing about stuff that don't matter. In the grand scheme of things, it might matter down the line, but there are people being deported. Some of y'all don't care because, oh, they voted for this, blah blah blah. Okay, whatever. But if everybody else arguing and fighting over wigs and just type of stuff, who the heck gonna fight if everybody else gone and nobody really willing to help the other person? They are taking kids and doing crazy, wicked things to them. Yes, I understand mothers are probably tired, they're drained out, they're frustrated, all of these different things. I genuinely understand it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. But that means it's a lot going on for everybody. And if nobody, male or female, but especially female, because guess what? 9 out of 10 times the kid is with you. So you are the most important influence in their life. This baby's being stolen. Down. Some parents don't even know where their baby's at. Some parents are the ones trying to ship their kids off and get a meal ticket off of them. Some parents are so wicked and have done no work that they're okay selling out their kids to these industries. They set them up to sell them off. I never thought in my life that I would meet somebody that was telling me their story. And they didn't care, right? They was telling me their story about how the mother and their family basically screwed them over and sold them off. Like they knew what they was pushing their kid into. And they didn't care because there was a dollar attached to it. That girl was sitting there telling me all the crazy things that she had seen being tied to and associated with somebody in the industry. And this is stuff that parents are doing to their kids. Like, they don't care. They just want their kid to be successful. And then the kid has to suffer or have to experience all these crazy traumatic things because who gonna believe their story? Who gonna take up for them? A lot of stuff that seems to go viral is all based off of feeling, right? And I'm not one of those people that tell you don't listen to your feelings, because you should. But you should be able to distinguish which ones are which. I have to sit with myself and do that and go through the different things that pop up in my mind, in my spirit, and try my best to filter through all. I'm not telling you don't listen to your feelings. I'm just telling you to know which feelings are solid and which ones are something you can throw away. You can move past. You can be like, nah, I'm good, and keep going. But I don't think parents realize just how much some of y'all kids are suffering, especially when it comes to school. And what you don't realize, your kid, because they need an outlet, they're sharing this information with the teachers. The second parent that you want for your child's life is the teacher. 9 to 10 times for single moms. So if they get in the classroom or they get out in the world and they meet all these other people who have chosen not to intentionally heal, we repeat in the same cycle and nothing gets broken. Nothing gets broken. Nothing gets changed. It just progressively gets worse. I think a lot of people choose to avoid healing or addressing certain wounds because healing is not always I can address it one time and then I'm done. I'm completely done with it. Healing doesn't work like that. Healing is sometimes you address something and it might come back 6 months later and you gotta address it again. And it's not that you haven't dealt with it, it's just that's how healing works sometimes. Like it's not always an immediate fix to everything. It's not always an immediate, oh yeah, I processed this 6 months ago, why is it resurfacing? Sometimes you have to heal stuff in layers. And this system have got people on the hamster wheel so tight that it doesn't allow mothers, it doesn't allow parents to actually take a moment to breathe and not only be able to tend to their child, but to seriously be able to tend to themselves. Mentally, spiritually, emotionally, like seriously. Not just because it looks good in the video or for content, but like seriously address those things. It's some dope parents out here. They're able to juggle and balance and do all of these things. But then there's certain stuff that they speak on, you can tell like, okay, they ain't work on that area all the way because it's overflowing. And then sometimes you'll see the child and it overflow right into that baby. There are things even about myself that habits and different things that I have to break, that I have to work on. But I know exactly where it came from. It came from my mama. I know exactly where it came from. It came from my mama. That's not me shading my mama. That's just me taking stock of how said thing came about. Drama and mess and gossip and all of these other things have been just peddled in front of us so hard, so strong, that is all some people are about. It's drama, gossip, and mess. And a lot of the times it's because they just avoiding the the work. But all of that stuff, if you do too much, if you have too much of it, it'll overstimulate you. Then it throws your rhythm off. It throws so much stuff off. I don't know what the teacher's asking for this year. But what I do know is I'm pretty sure the basics from last year are still on that list. Because you pretty much need, for the most part, the same basics every year. The only thing that I see in this argument from the clips that I saw briefly, is that parents want to be able to say that they know that what they bought went directly to just their child. There's no way to know that. Not 1,000% of the time. If we don't, as women especially, sit down and really like take a deep dive within ourselves, for ourselves, not for anything else, not even just for your kids, but if you definitely are a mom and you have kids, you should want to do that even more. Man, I feel bad for the kids sometimes. I really do. I really do. I don't know, but we gotta change something. I don't care why you make the change, whether it's for yourself, your kid, but everybody ain't gonna be the same. We're not intended to be the same. I know a lot of people still push that. A lot of people still want this one block of cheese type community set up, but then they don't want to help the community when it comes down to pouring into the full community. So we gotta heal. We gotta heal. And to those of all of you everywhere that's experienced your own mother wounds, I'm truly sorry that you had to even experience that or go through that. But at what point do you, who have now become a mom and experience your own wounds or whatever the case may be, at what point do you decide that you're going to intentionally heal so you don't rub off the things about yourself that you don't like or that you want to change so your kid doesn't obtain it? Hopefully it'll be sooner than later, because it's too much stuff going on in the world for some of these topics to even be the topic for real. I mean, once you have a child, of course you can't change the baby daddy, but you can always change yourself. You can always make sure your child's solid, and the best way to do that wholeheartedly is to make sure that you've allotted time to really sit with yourself and think about your own serious triggers and why you even had that reaction or yeah. I'm trying to do a little bit more of this head. I just got too much more to do. And y'all be easy. But I'll catch y'all next time. I know this ain't had nothing to do with the Bible, but it's like that sometimes.